prophecy of Moshe Rabbeinu is considered on a special level, different from all the other prophets. This is such a major topic that the Rambam, in his 13 Principles of Faith, that every believing Jew has to believe, has to subscribe to. One is not considered part of the Jewish people if he does not subscribe to these 13 beliefs. Number 7 is the belief that the prophecy of Moshe was inherently different than the prophecy of all other prophets. That means the way that Moshe spoke to God was different than the way that God spoke to every other prophet. The way he spoke to Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov was different than the way he spoke to Moshe Rabbeinu, to Moses. The difference between all of the prophets and Moses. Hine, madregos hanavua al derech klal yischalku l'shtayim. There are 2 levels of prophecy in general. You can divide up all prophets into 2 levels. Ha'achas madregos kol hanavim chutz me Moshe Rabbeinu alav hashalom, v'hashniya madregos Moshe Rabbeinu alav hashalom. One group of prophets, one level of prophecy is all of the prophets except for Moses. And the second level of prophecy is the prophecy of Moses. So the prophecy of Moshe is so unique that it has its own category. It's Moshe on one side and everybody else on the other. And who made this distinction? Hashem himself made this distinction. Uber Havdalim, because it says in the Torah, to the prophets I will make it known through a vision. Lo kain abdi Moshe. That is not so how I speak to my servant Moshe. So all of the other prophets will see Hashem speaks to them through visions and things like that. But that is not the case when it comes to Moshe. The prophecy of Moshe is on a level completely higher than all of this. V'hu l'rishona, first, shlo hayatzarech latzis mechushav ha'ergoshav v'lo lachlachum klal. When Moshe received prophecy, he did not need to go out of his senses at all. He did not need to be in a dreamlike state. He received this prophecy when he was awake, just like a normal functioning. So other prophets, they received their prophecy, they had to go into this dreamlike, trance-like state where all of their senses were totally overwhelmed. When Moshe spoke to God, he spoke to God just in his normal state. This is what it says about him. Pel pel daberbo, I speak to him face to face, mouth to mouth. And he was looking at Hashem. It was like there was only one mirror, one lens between them. And this one lens was very clear. So while the other prophets had multiple lenses, multiple mirrors, and they weren't so clear, Moshe Rabbeinu had one, and it was very clear. And also, the ideas which reached Moshe were totally clear. They weren't through riddles. I showed him and not in riddles. But even to Moshe, he didn't look directly at the glory of Hashem. He only received the glory of Hashem to the level that a human being would be able to do so. Like to someone, like an image that was formed in a vision. So, because besides that, seeing the glory of Hashem not in a vision, but a human being cannot look directly at the glory of Hashem. That's why we have Moshe, the Medrash, Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to see the glory of Hashem, and he saw, quote unquote, his back, whatever that was, but he couldn't see directly. Even Moshe, the holiest person that ever lived, couldn't see God directly. But that what he could see was totally clear. It's like someone looking through a clear lens, totally clear, and there's nothing blocking his vision. And it says this, and he perceived the picture of Hashem. He also had this picture, quote unquote, it was a very clear, very good, that none of the other prophets had. The other prophets couldn't perceive it so clear. Through this image that he could perceive Moshe, he got a lot of very lofty ideas with extreme clarity. And more than all of the prophets, obviously, it doesn't mean literally a picture of Hashem, because Hashem has no image. Hashem doesn't have a body or anything. But the perception that Moshe had of God was on a qualitatively different level than all of the other prophets. It was through one lens of a mirror, and it was extremely clear. And even that, though, Moshe didn't glance, speaking in metaphors here, he didn't glance directly at God, because no human being could do that. There's no literal body of God that someone could look at. Another difference between all the prophets and Moshe. All the other prophets, they could only speak to Hashem when Hashem wanted to speak to them. Hashem would bestow his shefa on the prophets, his holiness on the prophets, and then he would send them messages whenever God wanted. But the prophets couldn't say, "Oh, God, I would like to speak to you now." It couldn't do that. Ach Moshe Rabbeinu alav shalom, but Moshe, hayadavar tali b'ritzono, it was whenever he wanted. Moshe was able to speak to God whenever he wanted. Even all the other prophets didn't have that. Abraham, one of the holiest Jews that ever lived, even he wasn't at this level. Only Moshe had the ability to speak to God whenever he wanted. And when he spoke to God, it was like face to face. Furthermore, the other prophets could only understand certain details. Whatever details God wanted to give to the prophets, that's what they understood. Moshe merited to receive all of the secrets of creation, everything about creation, the whole order of creation. And he was given permission to research in all of this and to delve into it and to inquire about it all. And he was given all of the keys that no other human being was ever given.